Hi there, I'm Elissa Gertler. I'm the housing manager for Clatsop County, and recently I had the chance to sit down with councilors Andrea Mazzarella and Vance, new city councilors for City of Astoria. Tell us about yourself and what part of Astoria you represent.
I'm Andrea Mazzarella. I grew up here in Astoria. My mom and I moved here when I was in third grade, so in the 80s, and graduated high school here, came back, came back again in 2009, I think, and have been here ever since.
What made you decide to run for city council?
I am Ward 2, which is the South Slope, because that's where I live. And I really, I've been somewhat involved in attending certain city council meetings here and there, and I really believe in what local government can do. I think that we have a lot of opportunity right now to make some important decisions, and it just felt like the right time. I feel like there's a good council. We have a solid group of people. Astoria is facing some challenges and a lot of growth. So it just seemed like the right time to do it.
Yeah, so my name is Vance, and I'm a new city councilor as of the beginning of 2025 for the city of Astoria in Ward 4, which is basically the east end of town from City Lumber over to the city limits at Tongue Point. And I decided to run for council because basically because of housing issues that I'm sure we're going to get into. I felt the city could do more on the addressing the housing crisis, and so I was motivated to make that the main platform for my campaign. And the voters of Ward 4 agreed with me enough to put me in office.
That's fantastic. Well, so I'm the housing manager for Clatsop County, and I know that you made housing a focus of your campaign and also have been involved in being a housing advocate even before you ran for office. So, why do you think housing is such an important issue in Astoria?
Gosh, I think that's maybe a two-part answer because it's such a beautiful place to live and such a desirable place to live and has been for some time. And so we've seen a real influx of residents in the last 5 or 6 years, which is wonderful and has also put us in a bit of a housing crunch. And we see that happening everywhere. But that really escalated things for our area in a way that I think no one anticipated. So now it's a bigger issue than it was because inventory is low and prices are high, and we have limited industry, limited types of jobs that people can get at certain incomes to afford that, and so it's creating a lot of challenges and tension for our residents.
I feel the problems we have with housing affect more than just residents being able to find a place to live, which is incredibly important, but it limits our economic development opportunities, not being able to hire people because they just can't find the housing that they need. There might be a job there for them, but is there a place for them to live that they want, depending on what kind of job it is? And then it obviously contributes to our houselessness issue. Clatsop County has the highest rate of homelessness in the state per capita, and it's no surprise that a lot of our communities are tourist destinations and also second home communities, retirement communities that tend to have a much more difficult time with housing for your typical resident, people who work the jobs that work in those cities. And it even down to our infrastructure that we have here in town, if we're able to grow the amount of people who live in our city, then the more people who contribute to paying for our infrastructure. We have pipes that are over 100 years old, and we need to replace them. Our budgets are limited, and with a growing population, the people obviously want to move here, but there's just not the housing. With a growing population, that'll make affording those projects much more easy.
What do you think are your highest priority issues to work on for housing in your first year?
We just had a really great city council retreat and had some fun conversations around that. And there's a lot to be done, and there's a lot that we can't do, really. So for what we can do, more importantly, I think doing some stuff to clean up permit processes and development language, just to streamline things, to get our city staff fully staffed and supported, our community development department, and building division and all of that being fully staffed and well funded and supported is going to make it easier for people that want to develop new housing and for people that want to fix up the houses that they own now. So I think that's something the city can work on to support that from within, and then that will help hopefully everyone else in the city with their housing needs. there's a lot of other stuff that I'm still learning so much about. There's definitely, grant programs and partnerships that make developing affordable housing or workforce housing possible that I want to see us pursue more aggressively, I think, and really get ourselves educated about what it is that we can do and can't do and what the needs are of the people here so that we can try to meet them.
What are the highest priority housing actions you want to work on this year?
I think the biggest thing is to make it just a conversation that is ongoing pretty much all the time. And so we recently had the city council retreat. We looked at the work plan that had been established, and there were a number of goals on there, and they're all very important. But I made the case that housing should be the most important, and it should be something that we're talking about regularly. And so just bringing it into the conversation when we're talking about urban renewal funds or talking about obviously certain projects, things like Dairy Gold, which we're working with the county on to hopefully get that to be a success, but also Copeland Commons. Like, how do we support these projects and find creative ways to make sure that there are not unforeseen challenges that they face? We may have seen, or people who are familiar may have seen with the Owens 2 project, that there were some last minute issues there that were luckily resolved, but the can trip up a project before it even gets started. And so we want to look at, the city manager has proposed a site plan review process that would basically allow us to sit down with someone who wants to build a project and look at their overall plan and try to be more proactive about getting that process approved instead of waiting until something comes up later when you're almost ready to start digging, and then all of a sudden you've got something you have to address. And so we can streamline it, make it easier, and make it so that it's a more friendly place to build housing. Because right now, I think our reputation is that it's a difficult place to build housing.
And as the county's housing manager, one of the questions I'm curious about is, how do you see Astoria's housing needs fitting in with the larger housing issues and needs across Clatsop County as a whole?
Well, yeah, and I think that all the communities in the county are related in some fashion. There's a lot of people who go back and forth between the different towns on the coast and the North Coast region. And so being a part of the conversation with the other cities and what they're doing is important, seeing if there's ways we can collaborate there or at least learn from each other. We are the biggest city in the county, so I feel like we should play a leading role in that as much as we can. And in my personal opinion, this is not an opinion of the overall council, but in my personal opinion, we have not been the leader in the county, and I think that we can turn that around. It really just takes effort, and I think that we are now putting that effort in, but I don't think it has been that way from a city council perspective for a little while.
That's a great question. I think the biggest challenge for Astoria that I see, or one of them, is we have a lot of really limited buildable land. We have a lot of compressible soil and landslide topography and flood zones and all those things that make it challenging and expensive to build housing. So while I know a lot of people work in Astoria, they might live in Warrenton or live in Napa or Swenson or Seaside even, and or vice versa. People that live here work there because there's jobs there as well. So I think as a county, it is very intersectional. We are a larger community. We affect each other, and I think we have an opportunity to affect each other positively if we can all get on board and collaborate together and realize that this is we're not an island. We're all facing a lot of the same challenges.
Thank you. That's a great answer. Are you doing anything to connect with people in Astoria who care about housing, or if people have thoughts, is there a way that they can connect with you?
Yes, I've been a part of the Astoria Housing Alliance, as well as our other new city councilor, Vance, and yourself. And that has been a wonderful way to educate myself more about what can be done and the processes around that. I would suggest people going to that website and contacting the AHA. And that website, I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget. It's astoriahousing.org. And there's a contact button through that. Which wouldn't be contacting me directly, but if there's something specific that someone wants to talk to me about as a city councilor, I have a city phone with my own city council phone number, and that's 503-440-2356, as well as email is Mazzarella, my last name, at astoria.gov. So email is the fastest way to get in touch with me if there's a specific thing you need for.
So how can people who care about housing in Astoria connect with you? Or are there ways you're reaching out to folks in Astoria to talk more about this conversation?
Well, the best way, if anyone does want to just chat with me about this stuff, is to send me an email. I'm a millennial, so if you call me on the phone, I don't always answer it. But if you send me an email, I'll get back to you. That is just vlump@astoria.gov. VLUMP. And if anyone has questions about what's going on with this housing project or that housing project, or why isn't this site developed for housing, there's usually a reason. Doesn't mean it won't happen, but there's usually something going on where it's not just an empty lot for no reason at all. But I would love to get to a point where I'm reaching out, maybe having town halls or other kind of community events where we can just talk about housing stuff. As it is now, my schedule's been really full just getting up to speed on council stuff. And so I haven't organized anything like that, but it's kind of part of my overall long-term plan as a counselor to have those kinds of conversations. But another great opportunity is for people to get in touch with the Astoria Housing Alliance, which I'm also a part of. And that group really does focus on outreach with the community. And there's a great board of directors that are doing a lot of good work there. And we tend to have housing happy hours, meetups for either coffee or a beer somewhere. And you can chat with people who are knee deep in housing issues. And so that's a great way for those who are just kind of curious to get more background on different things.
Great.
But yeah, AstoriaHousing.org will be the place to go for that.
And so my last question is there anything that I didn't ask you, but that you wanted to be able to talk about as far as housing with our listeners? This is your chance to freestyle.
I'm excited that this conversation is happening. I'm excited to work with you. I feel like you're doing really great work. The county's doing great stuff. We had a presentation from the county, I think 2 city council meetings ago, about the economic
opportunities analysis.
Opportunities analysis. Yeah, the economic opportunities analysis. And that reflected that the biggest challenge facing economic stability and growth in the county is also housing. So if we can't house our workers, we can't have a strong, healthy economy. So it's just really intersectional. It felt really good to hear from the county, and it seemed like their priority was also to get all of the towns to really unify, get on the same page, realize that we can lean on each other and help each other to collaborate to try to solve some really hard, big problems.
A lot of people, at least when it comes to me and what I talk about, I've been kind of like pegged as the housing guy. But as I said earlier, focusing on housing is really not just thinking about one issue. It really relates to so many things. And so many challenges that we face are interrelated. And so you can't just say we have to do something about the amount of people who are homeless. Like, well, where can they go if there's no path? We can open up more shelters, but you can't live in a shelter forever. So we don't have the step above shelter in between lower income housing and the shelter. We need something there. And then even from there, where do you go from that point? It's a really complex, difficult problem, but it is something that will benefit our entire community. So there's a lot of resistance to development in Astoria. And the truth is if we do nothing, our community has already changed. If we say we just want to keep everything exactly the same, the newsflash is that it's not the same as it was 10 years ago. Things have already changed. Obviously, the COVID pandemic changed a lot of things. A lot of people moved here from that event. We're going to end up with a different kind of community if we don't be proactive on directing the path that we're going to take. So that's what I'm trying to get the Astoria City Council to do. And we're doing some really great work. I'm super excited about conversations we're having and trying to be more proactive on issues instead of waiting for things to come to us and just react to them. So I feel really optimistic about the future.
Perfect. Vance, thanks for doing this. I'm so glad we could make it happen.
Yeah, this is great.
And I just want to say thanks for taking the time and thanks for all you're doing to work on this issue. It's really great to have you on council.
Thank you. I am so happy to be here.